Hello and welcome back to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben and thank you for joining me. This is my team reveal going into round 9. Obviously, you've just seen what Chris has done. If you haven't already, do follow him and see what his team is looking like. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and get amongst it. Also, like our platforms as well, SC Insider 100 on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, you name it. And we're also on all the other audio platforms as well if you like our podcast, etc. So the week just gone, look, not too bad considering that, and if you've heard the podcast, Luke Ryan again. 1 week turns into 2. Now it's ruled out for a third. Lucky I've got Cozzy chipping away, but he's bleeding me points. Hoping they're playing North Melbourne this week, so Cozzy might actually save me there. So let me go into how I scored for this week, and then we'll go through the changes that I made. So 2,115, not too bad considering I was playing the extra rookie, so I can't complain too much. And I knew that holding Luke Ryan and playing rookies was going to mean lead to me sliding a little bit. I've slid down to 600th overall. So again, I'm not too bad there. I did slide a bit this week. That's always going to happen when people like Taranto and though I can't say his name, Josh Kelly, not him, but more like Taranto and other players that are highly owned, and Tom Mitchell, again, do really well. So those cheaper priced options are the ones that have done well, and they're going to see people rise this week. And I'm just trying to bide my time. And my big issue was Taylor Walker. Now, I did look at him last week, but I thought, look, I'll see how my team goes, because I had Chapman as my D6, and with Luke Ryan, I was waiting to see if Luke Ryan was going to play. He did not, so then I was forced into making a decision, and my thought process there was, I needed some money, so I looked at getting rid of Goulden. If I got rid of Goulden, then I was considering bringing in Whitfield, which I could afford. That game kind of already surpassed and went, and luckily I didn't, because Whitfield had another bad game, so he's going to be dropping in cash. So I went with so I was looking at Goulden, and I was like, okay, well, they have some easy games coming up. I can try and keep him because he could bang out a 130, or he's done it a couple times, but he could actually get you another 100 or something like that against one of these easier sides coming up. So I was kind of wanting to hold on to that, and because he is highly owned going into the buys, he's someone that could be definitely best 18, so I didn't want to get rid of him just yet. Rowe had a high break even, didn't do well the week before, so I thought, you know what, it's time to go Rowe. Now, I brought in Poulter. I brought him in early to free up that cash. Now, I made that decision, and I was happy with that decision. Poulter did well. I had to make that trade pretty early. Then, Luke Ryan, I think, was not playing. I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? I've got my money. I'm sitting pretty tight here, and I went with Houston. Now, I tried to get in Callum Mills, but I was 2,000 short. Now, Houston, I know he did have that little bit of an injury, like a shoulder knock one time, subbed out, so I thought he's a low price point. Up until that point, he was, second highest overall averaging defender. I still think he has a real Supercoach friendly role, so I thought, okay, I'll bring in Houston because he's a cheaper price point player who I could leave as my D6 and be quite comfortable with that. I also don't have any other Port Adelaide players. I also only have really Stewart and Impey Zeeble as my buy one premiums. So I thought that could really help me because I've got a lot of buy 2 and 3 players. So I wanted to sort of go about it that way. And Houston was killing it. He was absolutely flying. He was getting so many points, and I'm sitting there, little fist pumps to myself, little early crow, right? That Houston he was flying after halftime, and then copped another knock to his shoulder, which meant he was in a lot of pain and sort of couldn't play at the game. So AC joint, no strapping on. I'm surprised they even played him in the midfield if he has that last week. He played in the midfield against the Lions and didn't do so great. This week, yeah, he did well. So it's an interesting one. So just my luck. Lockie Neal I bring in gets injured, has to go out. At least it looks like Houston could get named. Now, the issue I have is if Houston doesn't get named, I've got Houston and Luke Ryan out of my side. Cozzy's only going to do me one of those. Highmore's not going to play. I mean, looks like Saints are getting another couple possible defenders back, so I don't think Highmore's going to get a gig. At least we find out nice and early for this one. Now, that puts me in quite a predicament. Now, the other predicament I have is Tex Walker. Tex Walker, 29. Now, I should have got rid of him a couple weeks ago, right? But we're like, okay, one bad score, and I was waiting for that bad score to come. Now, I was kind of forced into bringing in a defender last week. I could have kept Rowe, scored 50 more points, and got rid of Tex. So, it's just one of those things. You know, Rowe actually made money and Tex lost like 50K. So go figure. These are all just the little decisions that you need a bit of luck to go with. So for me, Tex Walker, I think, needs to go this week. You could do worse than have him at F6, but he's just a pain in the ass. He's high and low. I want a little bit more stability in my side. For my other ones, I'm already keeping Zeeble and Impey, so I'm kind of looking at Dusty Martin, Zorko, Dangerfield, and Marshall as my 4. And I've gone quite thin in this defensive line at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll put Scott back into this forward line because he's doing quite well. A couple of weeks ago, I actually went really thin in this forward line here, and the reason is because I figured Dusty was out, so people would be running a couple of extra rookies here. And then as everything's kind of eventuated, I needed that defender, and my forward line is still thin. Now, I'm considering going real thin. Not because I want to, but because there's rookies there, and part of me wants to secure up with some of these other premiums that are out at the moment. So here's what I'm thinking, and I haven't quite decided. Now, Cozzy, they play pretty early, so I'm going to loophole him and see if he scores well. At this point, I'll also know if Houston's playing because that's a Saturday night game. So if Cozzy does well, Ryan, that's fine. Cozzy can take that score and no one's the wiser. If Cozzy absolutely butchers it, then I could also make a sort of change of play, like a sleight of hand. I can then bring Sharp in for... Actually, no, that's not going to work. That would only work if I'm making the upgrade. Never mind. Oh, maybe my plan won't work after all. Let's think this through, team. Let's think this through. Okay, so I've already got these players here. I've got Highmore and Cozzy. No, I can't bring someone in. If Houston and Ryan are out, I can't... Actually, no, I can. I can switch him in and Sharps will stay there. That's fine. That's fine. So what I would do is I'm looking at getting rid of Tex. I'm going to bring in... the Richmond player. Who are we looking at? So we're looking at RCD. So Berry is the logical one for me. It just depends if I need money. So I'm looking at, this is my risky option here. So I'm going to trade Berry out. We're going to bring in Collier. And that frees up a little bit. So I have 147,000. Pretty easy then. What I'm thinking about doing is putting the emergency on him. I'm thinking about putting the emergency on McCreary just because he had a bit of a low week last week. And if McCreary does well, then everything kind of frees up for me here and I can play. What I'm thinking about is actually playing 3 rookies on field in the forward line this week, which is absolutely stupid. But again, I'm looking, most of my team's pretty good in defense. My midfield, you're looking at Powell, Jordan, and Goulden, so there's not huge risk there. So I'm thinking about sort of doing it that way. And then what I can do is my options, I'm thinking about going and bringing in Tom Mitchell. I'm thinking about bringing in Titch for Tex. Now, this is what I'm thinking. I might not. I might actually go Zorko in for Titch because I think Zorko could do really well against Gold Coast. I think he's got a really good average in the last couple. So I'll show you, this is my option 1, and it just depends on how teams are sort of named at the moment. Option 1, Tom Mitchell's here. The reason I don't like this option as much is, as you can see, Powell and Jordan here. I've got Goulden and Collier Dawkins on the bench. They're 2 players who could definitely be on field, and I'd probably rather play them on field instead of having McCreary, etc. Brockman might actually play, so if I did this option, I could actually try and see if Brockman scores well, and then try and make some alternative moves here. But as you can see, right, Zeeble, Impey, Warner, Scott, McCreary, Poulter, it's getting risky. The other option I'm thinking about doing is just, instead of doing that, I can just bring in Zorko for Tex. It doesn't really achieve me too much, but then if I bring in Zorko for Tex, Dusty next week, and all of a sudden I have just 2 rookies on field, including Warner. So it's really just 1 at-risk rookie, so that's what I'm considering. If Houston or is not named as well, then I'm in a bit of a predicament because Cozzy can really only cover one, which is where you can get a little bit creative. And I do like, I would like to get Whitfield in my side. However, I think Callum Mills would be a worthy replacement if I do have Houston out this week. And how that would look is I would probably do something similar with Berry into Collier Dawkins. And I would then try and do a little bit of a shuffle around. So this is where you can actually start to get a little bit creative here. So I'll get rid of Tex. I'll bring Scott back into that forward sort of mix here. And then I'll bring Laird into that midfield. And then I'll have the money to trade in a defender. And I'll go and bring in Mills. So this is what I would be considering if both of my guys out in defense. So now, as you can see, Cozzy. So Ryan, Houston, Cozzy. Oh, that's still going to be the same issue. Man, this is a pain in the ass. Okay, so as you can see, that's not really going to work out. So if Houston is out, I might actually have to cop a donut this week or keep Tex. Now, that is a bad predicament to be in. Let me know what you think I should do. I don't know. My team's probably going to change. It just depends on what's happening with teams. This is what I am kind of thinking, though. I don't mind having Laird in that midfield mix in general because it does provide you a little bit more flexibility. Then what would happen is, say, next week, say Cozzy maxes out. I trade Cozzy. I'll put Sharp back in there to free up that swing motion back in, which is what I would like to do. Unfortunately, Cozzy's playing. I can't just get rid of Highmore for no reason, so I'm kind of a week away from doing that anyway. So I would have to probably cop a donut this week, which would suck. Cozzy could go next week. Sharp would then move into defense. That would then open up that swing way for me, and then I would have plenty of money. I'd have, 100 and so about nearly 200,000 or 180,000, and then I'd be able to then go Scott straight up into Dusty Martin. And then from there, I'm just looking at sort of Poulter McCreary, trying to get them off field as soon as possible. So that would be Flynn down, and then trying to get those guys up to, say, a Dusty or a Marshall, probably Marshall at that point. Zorko or Marshall. So that's the thoughts there, guys. VC and C this week. Let's have a look. Probably a good one. Grundy, I think, is a VC this week. Don't mind him there. If you have Tom Mitchell, not a bad little VC for him against North Melbourne. So he's definitely a nice little option that you should go with. Gorn is probably another good C option. I know he hasn't gone great, but again, 112 at worst case. I think, they're still winning. I still see them doing well. He should dominate against Carlton in those hit-outs. And I think it's a real big rivalry too, so they should improve there. I think that kind of wraps us up. The Dogs and the Port Adelaide, I'm not sure I'd trust too many there. You could go Bont or McRae. I wouldn't be going at probably a captaincy outright. So I think it's basically Grundy, Titch, or one of the Dogs, VC, into Gorn this week, which will be probably nice and steady. And that kind of wraps us up, guys. Thank you very much. Let us know what you're thinking. I am torn. Let me know what you think. Should I go really thin in the forward line? Should I just bring in Zorko and back him in against the Gold Coast? Should I cop a donut? Should I keep Tex? Obviously, I shouldn't keep Tex, but let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, get all of that happening, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye. Stay tuned. It's a mess. Risk it for the biscuit. Bye.